Ladies and gentlemen, making his way into the studio is Adam Johnson. Adam, is his mic on there, Gio?
I believe so.
There you go. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on.
I was very interested in catching up with you, and I figured that the pardon happening would be something interesting to talk to you about. If you don't mind, because people may not have heard you on the show the first time, can we talk a little bit about January 6th and how you got there and how you were misidentified as a guy who stole Pelosi's podium and all these things? Because I'll tell you, the first time we had you on the show, a lot of people were mad at me. A lot of people were giving me crap. I mean, I said two things. One, even if this guy was a villain and he was a bad guy, I would still have him on the show because he's a person of interest. And that's what we do. We talk to interesting people on the show. Then we ended up having you on. You were way more intelligent than I think people expected. I would, because you look at some of those riot videos and they look like a post Philly game after the Eagles. It just looked like a bunch of dudes running around and climbing walls and stuff. But there were some people that were there for different reasons, and then there were some people that got caught up in what was there. And in my mind, what you did was you had the time, you went down there, and you found yourself wound up in it. Said, "Hey, everybody's going to the Capitol." We ended up in the Capitol. And then all of a sudden the melee happened and you're like, I'm here. And I couldn't stop saying to myself, if that was me, I would have probably have done the same thing. Not because I'm lashing out against the government, but because I got caught up in the moment and what was happening. So anyway, let's start from the beginning. You're sitting home. You are a stay-at-home dad. Your wife is a doctor, I think?
That is correct.
Okay. And you were a stay-at-home dad. And you are the kind of guy that has the flexible schedule. So when the inauguration was happening and there was going to be a protest, you wanted to go up to protest, or you kind of wanted to see what the whole thing was about? Like, how much of the Trump stuff were you into?
I think definitely the latter is a bigger reason why I went. There was a bunch of things that happened, COVID lockdowns, mandates, we're locked inside of our homes. I'd never been to a Trump rally in my life.
Right.
I only voted for him in 2020.
Right.
So hadn't been to a rally, so I thought this is the last rally. Let's go take a look at it. They're supposed to be wild. He's saying it's going to be a wild rally. So I showed up to take some videos and get a firsthand account.
Yeah, I did go to a Trump rally here when they had one in Tampa for the same reasons, for curiosity. First, he's a celebrity. He's coming to town. It's my town. I felt like I should kind of be there, So I went to the first one, and it was a weird kind of thing. Also, it was very enticing because he would say, look at the crowds that's here, and that the cameras won't turn around and show the crowds. And you're like, well, I want to see the goddamn crowds. I'm going to go down. And the only way to really make those decisions is to go and see for yourself. So you decide to go on up there. Solo, or did you go with anybody else?
I went with a buddy of mine. We do jiu-jitsu together.
Okay.
It was a very impetuous decision. This was not some long planned out thing. I think it was 2 weeks before January 6th. We actually bought our plane tickets to go up there.
Okay, so you go up there, and what are you doing the time you're up? You doing a little sightseeing, little tourist things when you're there?
First time in D.C., so we walked around town. Beautiful city. If you're not been, I definitely recommend going when it's warmer, for sure.
It's a cold city in the winter months, for sure.
It is. So we went and saw Alex Jones speak in the park. I'd never seen that guy speak either. So listen to him, listen to Owen Schroyer. Just kind of walked around getting a vibe and a feel for the whole city. It's
kind of like, to use a Super Bowl reference, when the Super Bowl comes to town, even if you're not going to the Super Bowl, there's a bunch of other things happening around the town that are worth going to see. Even if you can go, I think Alex Jones is nuts, but I love to watch him on his clips on YouTube and stuff because he says some interesting stuff. Whether or not it's fact-based or not, it doesn't matter to me. I just like watching him yell and scream and stuff.
It's bombastic. It's fun. I mean, you watch it because it's entertaining.
And also, I feel like you're witnessing history. You're there for a part of history. Whether whoever wins the election or whatever happens, you're there in D.C. where it's happening.
Yes, I basically Forrest Gumped myself into the pages of history.
Right.
That's how I joke about it. The entire scene with the lectern just happened out of nowhere. I didn't kick down someone's door. I didn't break into a building. I mean, it's been, I think, 4 years since that date now?
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of things have been found out since then.
So that was one of the big interesting things on the show. So at what point do you make it from wherever you are to the Capitol building? Like, what is happening where somebody says, hey, we're storming the Capitol? Or do you say, hey, there's a group going over there? Like, where are you? Because having talked to you on and off the air, you don't seem like that kind of guy. You're not the guy that's like, let's go storm the Capitol. But You do seem like the kind of guy you're like, we're here. Let's go see what's going on.
That sounds like a lot of cardio running towards a building 2 miles away.
Yeah.
So we're listening to Trump's speech. He says we're going to go down to the Capitol. We're going to march peacefully and patriotically, was I think his rhetoric, and let our voices be heard.
Right.
So everyone just kind of starts careening down the road. It's a long walk. It's about, I think, 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the ellipse down to the Capitol.
Is it getting rambunctious? Or people chanting things? Or people just walking peacefully?
They've got flags who are just walking. I think we got down towards the National Archives, and I'm sitting up on the steps, and I hear from the crowd that they broke into the Capitol.
Right.
And at this point, the pace does pick up because, holy cow, what's going on?
Sure.
And if you hear like there's a bad accident or something happened, white people have this innate responsibility to run towards the danger instead of away from it.
Right.
So we all start running down towards the Capitol.
Plus, also, who doesn't want to see that? I mean, it doesn't mean that you are going to go storm the Capitol, but if there's stuff happened, I want to see what's going on. I mean, it's happening right in front of our eyes.
Everyone slows down for a traffic accident, right? I mean, this is just human nature.
Yeah.
So we're all, we all hate each other for it, but everyone does it.
Yeah.
So we run down to the Capitol at those points, and by the time we get there, whatever barricades were there in the first place, they weren't there when I got there. So I didn't know barricades had been crossed. I just knew they were in the Capitol.
Right.
I get there on the west side of the building, and at this point, there's like a semicircle of officers that are just kind of tacitly standing around, and a bunch of protesters who were singing the national anthem, just kind of careening, perusing around.
Okay.
Not much. At some point, they release gas into the crowd, concussion grenades. This is on video now. These are things I didn't know 3 years ago. So I think it was the Metro Police that actually threw these munitions into the crowd without asking the crowd to disperse.
Just because they were there singing the national anthem.
And they were not authorized to use those munitions. They were actually told by their superiors, we're not using this right now. They launched them anyway.
Right.
At this point, people start getting gassed. And when you have concussion devices and gas, falling at your feet in the middle of a crowd, you're going to have people go forward and people go back.
Yeah, that crowd is spread out.
I think a lot of the riot happened because of that.
Yeah.
And I do say there is a riot. We've seen the video. People were assaulting police officers. That is on video. We've seen it.
Right.
But the majority of people were not doing that. And then if you look at the charges, I think there were 1,600 charges. Only, I think it was 200 of them had violent charges.
Right.
And even in those violent charges, some of those charges are simply, there's video again of people patting officers on the back saying, thanks for being here, thanks for your service.
Yeah.
And they caught an assault charge for that.
Because they're physically touching the, that's interesting. So you, at what point are you like, I'm going to go inside? Were you following the group, or were you seeking shelter, or were you like, now I'm angry, I'm going inside?
After the gassing, I walked away from that because it's not a comfortable experience.
Sure.
I walked up some scaffolding, took some pictures. There's hundreds of thousands of people there. It's more than I've ever seen in a football stadium.
Right.
I noticed some people are walking inside, so I follow people inside the building.
Now, do you know at this time you shouldn't go inside, or like, are they trying to stop people from going in, or are you just like, hey, it's open, I'm just walking in there?
No one is stopping us from going inside.
Right.
And at the time, it's a public building.
Yeah.
I did walk in the wrong door. That it's the Senate wing door. There is an actual proper door to walk through.
Yep.
So if we're talking about that I trespassed, technically, yes.
Okay.
That is true.
Was anybody trying to stop you from going in there?
No,
right? It was just there.
There was zero resistance walking in those doors.
Okay, so you didn't have to push through anybody to get in. You weren't necessarily being told not to go in. You just walked inside.
Just walked inside.
Okay.
Me and about a few hundred people.
Yeah. And is the mentality as people are walking inside, let's destroy this place? Are they screaming? Are they just like, because I've seen some video where it looks like people are being destructive.
Yes. So again, there are two groups of people, two temperaments of people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the worst things that we see is that we pull all of these people together and say all these people are bad. There are some people who were destroying things.
Sure.
There are some people who were very disrespectful, and those people, it's like, well, that's not a great look. And you kind of sully the waters that I came here to be in.
Right. This wasn't your plan to do this, and now you're caught up in it, and you're in the middle of what's going on around you. So are you thinking at some point, I'm going to get in deep trouble for this, or are you thinking they can't get us all?
I definitely think it happened after I left the building.
Yeah.
The picture had went viral. I couldn't use
hold on, but let's before we get there, let's talk about that. So the story is you break into Pelosi's office, kick her door down, punch her assistant in the face, say, I'm taking all your stuff, grab the lectern and walk out. But that's not the case at all. From what I remember you said, that happened to be positioned under a staircase.
Yes.
And you did not break in anywhere to take it, and you
No.
just picked it up for a photo opportunity.
Yes, this was not a secure location of the building. This is where the public tours happen. I've been there a handful of times before,
Right.
or after the fact. And this is a place where the tour actually walks you through. So this is not a private place, a secure place that I broke into.
Yeah.
I didn't even open a door. It's sitting out in the open. I move it 39 feet to the center of the rotunda. I smile and wave because photographers are taking pictures. I set it down, give a short speech, and walk away from it.
Now, did you have any idea that you would be a focal point of that day? You and the shaman. There was like, in my mind, it's you, the shaman guy, and the guy hanging from the bricks on the outside. The guy, I mean, those are the three pictures that stick out in my head. I mean, you had no idea what was going to happen after that.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was Getty Images taking the photo. I didn't know it would be released immediately.
Yep.
I've seen video now of actual Capitol officers looking at my picture while I was still inside the building.
Wow.
It was that quick.
Went that quick. Huh?
Mhm.
So I remember getting updates. They're in, they're out. This guy stole Pelosi's podium. I mean, that was it was coming through in those orders. So you put the podium down, you gave your little speech or whatever you did, and then do you continue to walk through or do you exit after that?
I continued to walk through.
Right.
So never been in the building before, not really sure where I'm going, so I'm meandering, without a license.
And other people are doing the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
I will tell you, as we were walking through through that narrow corridor going into the rotunda, they were, chanting USA, USA. When they hit the rotunda, it got quiet. I mean, like pin drop quiet.
Really?
There's something really powerful about that room. It's our history.
Yeah.
And it's our shared history. And it got very quiet. People, I don't know, kind of changed their timbre, their tone, right? It was more respectful. They were taking pictures. They were walking around. And that was the group that I was in.
Okay.
After the lectern, again, just kind of wandering around, I noticed there's a group of people walking further down the hallway, right? So there's the rotunda and then Statutory Hall. So I follow this group down Statutory Hall. I'm texting my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm inside. I'm taking some pictures. She's like, you should leave. I'm like, I'm going to leave in a minute. I'll leave in a minute.
Always the C blockers, the wife.
Exactly. So we make it down towards what is I now know as the Senate chamber doors. Again, never
Didn't
been
know
there
where you're
before.
going.
Yep. And we're sitting by the doors, and I'm talking to a guy next to me, and I'm like, what's over there? He's like, oh, that's where they're counting the votes. And I said, what are they still doing here? It's been hours. I assume these people would have been rushed out of the secret tunnels and brought somewhere safe, because this is, probably not the safest place for them right now. A lot of people are very upset.
Yeah. And did you think that, were they really in there counting the votes, or did this guy just think?
I never went inside the chamber, so
Right.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
There was some fire extinguisher or some type of gas that was released down the hallway. Again, some type of chemical irritant. Didn't care for it, so found an officer, asked him how to leave. He said, we're exiting people. Walk down this hallway, take a right, and you'll exit the east face of the building.
Did you see anybody, any senators, any legislators, any people in there that looked like they might have been in danger, or that you were interrupting their day other than just being in there?
Nope, it was a bunch of officers walking around and a bunch of people walking around.
Right. So basically, like you said, meandering around the building, kind of maybe a little bit more free access than they're used to in there. You exit down where the police officer told you to go. You go outside. When you get outside, is it as normal as it was when you went in, or you're like, whoa, something's happened?
I think your Super Bowl metaphor is probably the best way to describe it. They had trucks parked up on the lawn. They were blasting, I think Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, was playing for a little bit. It was crazy stuff. But again, people were just standing on the steps and waiting around.
Yeah.
They were draping flags from outside the building. It was, because it's multiple stairs, multiple stories. They were draping USA flags and these things. But it didn't have that. It wasn't the production that we saw MSNBC put on years later with the J6 committee.
Right.
The selective editing, the grabbing a handful of footage, putting it together and saying these were the worst parts of the day.
Right.
Because we saw, what was it, Tucker did the walkthrough with the shaman.
Right.
A completely different narrative. So again, depending on where your source comes from, you can have two different impressions about what happened that day.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I don't feel like I'm pretty good at a BS detector. And talking to you the first time, people gave me a hard time for not pushing you. And I'm like, pushing him into what? Like, I almost put myself in that position. I'm a curious guy. I have the means to travel to D.C. I could see myself doing something like this. And then I could see me getting caught up in the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, I could also see myself instantly regretting some of it, and feeling the effects of it. So you exit out of there. Everything is over. At what point are you like, this could be bad?
It was walking home. My phone had, or home, but back to Georgetown.
Right.
So 2-3 mile walk back. My phone had died. It's charging up my backpack. And I turn it on. I can't even use it because there were so many messages coming in all over Facebook, Instagram, regular messages. Couldn't even use it. So I had to put in airplane mode, download a handful of them. And that's when I knew, like, oh, this is probably going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who I am now.
But you instantly became famous from that. It's iconic, and whether people are gonna like it or not, it's always going to be that picture of that day.
That makes me think of something. What is the dumbest thing someone has come to you with? Like, I'm sure that you got hit up by so many people. You should do a rap. You should have this. Like, what's like the dumbest thing? You're like, there's no way I'm doing that.
Oh man, there has been a lot of things. Good Lord, people want me to recreate the events all the time. I traveled to DC a handful of times. Like, oh, you should go steal the Lectern again. I'm like, well, that put me in prison, so that's a horrible idea.
Are you on Cameo?
I am not.
Because I would imagine a lot of people on Cameo like stand behind a thing and say happy birthday to this.
The amount of grown men who have asked me to hold them like the Lectern is astonishing.
Okay, so you know that there's going to be trouble, and then I recall from talking to you last time, they were looking for you. They already pinpointed who you were, and then you called and turned yourself in, right?
Yes, I actually called the AUSA and said, hey, I'm not fleeing. I'm driving home to be with my family.
Right.
My number is this. I live here, not running. So if you need anything, give me a call.
Yes.
So from day one, it's like, look, I think there's a big misunderstanding here. This is not what it is. So
right, you're labeled as the guy who stole Nancy Pelosi's podium. But the truth is, you're a guy who just walked through, stopped and took a picture with it, and walked out on the advice of a police officer as to how to get out of there.
Yes.
And now the whole world is looking for you, and you leave them a message and give them your information. How soon until you're contacted?
We hired lawyers on the way back down on Thursday, and by Friday.
Now, who do you call? How do you know who to call?
Good buddy of mine, his name is Jennings DePriest. He's pretty well connected in Tallahassee, politicians, lobbyists, things like that.
Right.
So he knows good federal lawyers.
Okay,
good attorneys.
smart, yeah.
So he told me, hey, you should definitely lawyer up. They're coming after you.
Wow.
So we hired them, Dan Eckhart, Dave Bigby.
What is that feeling that you get when your guy says, you should lawyer up, they're coming after you? I've been called and told, you're fired. I've been called, you're getting sued. I know that feeling. It just drops, your stomach just drops into your butthole.
It's actually very scary because federal charges, when they read the complaints, it's the United States government against you.
Oh,
that's how
villain.
it reads.
Yeah.
So that's not a fun place to be in.
So this guy,
you look at that and you go, all of them?
Exactly. All of you people? I know at least half of you like me.
So you get this guy, he hooks you up with a lawyer, and then what does the lawyer do? Does he arrange the meeting? Does he arrange the what?
The AUSA, which is the Assistant United States Attorney's Office, gets in contact with my attorneys. They're talking. They ask him where the Lectern is if I still have it.
And you told them?
I said, absolutely not.
Right.
And what's ridiculous about this is the video, again, it's been 3 years, 4 years now, we have more video. You see the officers actually collect that Lectern 10 minutes after I leave it. It was always in their possession. And what's even worse about this is that one guy actually stole the microphones off the darn thing, took them home. This guy only served 10 days in jail and a $50 fine.
I would have done that. I'm being honest. I would have wanted to have some sort of souvenir from that day. I would have taken, so I wouldn't have ruined anything, but I would have probably stolen something like that. I would have been like, maybe not the microphone, but something like, would have been great to have would be the eagle on the front, the piece that's on the podium.
Yeah.
Like something like that would have been cool.
So do you think, you saying that about the guy taking the microphone and he only served 10 days and did all that stuff, do you think the photo of you waving is the thing that put it over?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say, because it's like, look at him, he's waving at us like he's going to take it, let's get him, one of those kind of things.
My crime, which is not an arrestable crime, is I embarrassed them.
Yeah.
That photo kind of stands a testament against the narrative they wanted to build for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at that photo, one side loves sharing the photo, the other side does not.
Yeah. Yeah. So so the guy calls them up and what do they want you to do? They want you to come down? They want you to go meet somewhere? Or how does that work out?
They brought 3 charges immediately.
Okay.
It was theft of government property, the Lectern, felony.
Which you didn't do.
Which I didn't do.
Right.
It was violent entry, misdemeanor.
Which you didn't do.
And then it was entering and remaining in a restricted building, trespassing, which technically I did.
You went in the wrong door.
Went in the wrong door.
Right. Okay.
So self-surrendered on a
I'm
Friday
not making
night.
excuses for you. I'm trying to lay out the truth of what actually, according to you, what happened.
Yes, well, that's fair. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I want to be honest, forthcoming. So went to state Pinellas, county
Right.
for 4 days, Friday through Monday isolation. Saw a judge on Monday morning.
All right, wait, hold on. You got to back it up. So you go, I'm going to tell you the worst part. Second to hearing that the government is bringing charges against you, the worst part for me was when you show up at the jail and they go, "We need your cell phone." Now, I mean, I am now going into a holding cell with nothing, right? You have nothing on you, and you don't seem like a guy who has been in trouble before.
No, I did smoke a marijuana once when I was 19.
Marijuana.
I did.
So you go in the jail. Are you scared going into jail, or you think I'm going into a place they're gonna federal thing and they're gonna hold me?
My attorneys actually reached out to the local jail, local sheriff, and said, "Listen, this guy's high profile. You need to make sure he's not in Gen Pop."
Right.
So they actually held me in one of the Epstein cells. Like, no, not officially Epstein, but
Right, but one of
the
those.
isolation, 6x6 cube.
Yeah, and what is the comfort level of that cell? In all honesty, well, hopefully I'll never get to find out. But I mean, it looks pretty awful. They always say you got a real thin mattress. You're in there. I mean, how does it smell bad? Is it cold?
Oh, it's freezing cold.
Really?
No blankets, no pillows. I mean, no level of comfort.
Right. And you're just stuck in there.
Yes.
And no blankets and no pillows. You're sleeping on a cot with no pillows. That's.
Well, everyone else got them but me. Not sure how that turned out.
Oh, I got you.
And then I was supposed to get phone calls. I was supposed to be able to brush my teeth and shower.
Right.
One of the CEOs came in on Sunday and he was like, "All right, it's time for your hour of rec time." I'm like, "What's rec time?"
Yeah.
Then he's like, "They didn't let you out." I'm like, "Nah." So didn't get a chance to call my attorneys, my family. But I mean, this is how prisons work.
And you got what do you have? Just a pooper in there? Just
Yep.
a toilet? Yeah.
Well, it's a toilet, water fountain, sink combo.
What was the first time you pooped in there like?
Cold.
I mean, honestly, that's you ever. I think that's one of the things I think about having a poop in jail. But you're by yourself, so that's not so bad.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. It was worse in federal prison.
Yeah, why? Because you were in with other people.
200 person block. There were 8 toilets. 4 of them you cannot use because that's where they hide things.
Oh.
So it's a constant.
So you just knew not to use those toilets. Like somebody said to you, don't use 1,
Yes.
7, and 5.
Yes.
And they hide things in the tank.
Fish line, Ziploc bags tied up. Flush it.
Fish lines.
Wow.
So
Oh,
when
yeah.
they want something, they just pull it back out.
Uh-huh.
Holy cow!
That's how they did it in Oz. I saw that.
Is it really?
Yeah, on the TV show.
And why is it that you knew that, but the guards never knew that, or did they know and they just overlooked it?
A
all?
lot of the contraband that comes in comes from the guards. So
Yeah, I
when they
gotcha.
look, like they definitely do their job and look.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your final sentence?
I pled guilty to a misdemeanor trespassing.
Okay,
I got a 75-day federal prison sentence
for trespassing.
for trespassing.
Okay.
Yeah, setting records over here.
Yeah.
A $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, and a year of supervised release.
So the year is up.
Yes.
You're good with that. The fine, will that be reimbursed?
Probably not. That's
Okay.
probably gone.
Now, what is the process when the president signs the executive order and he pardons everybody? What happens to you?
Nothing. I've been done for a couple of years now.
Right.
So this is it's more of a.
But you no longer have to list this on your applications or any. You're no longer I don't know. You probably didn't before because it was a misdemeanor.
Exactly.
So really, your life doesn't change by the pardon at all.
It doesn't.
Yeah. But are you happy though that you were pardoned? Because really, let's be honest. You got screwed, like Galvin said, because you grabbed the podium and you waved. You embarrassed them, and that's why they took it out on you. There were probably people there that did way worse things that they don't know who they are and didn't embarrass them enough, so they're not going after them.
It's I'm thankful I got a pardon. It's a nice gesture, and you don't lick a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
All these idioms, but part of it does feel kind of gross because my pardon pulls me together with a lot of people who probably should have gone to jail for hitting cops.
Yeah.
And my pardon is the same as theirs. And I imagine that people who just patted people on the back, and got an assault charge probably feel the same.
But do you think though that it's better that that the majority of people, I mean, if you have to do a pardon, you I know what you're saying. You'd rather not be a blanket pardon, but what a pain in the ass and what a waste of resources it is to have to go back and visit and go through every one of those things again. It's almost better to say it's easier. It's not better. It's definitely easier to just say pardon.
Well,
and
there's-
also, it's a big F you to the
There's a
the other
spreadsheet.
side.
There's a spreadsheet. You know,
Yeah.
the DOJ has this file. I think it would have been better to pardon nonviolent people day one, and it would have been better to commute sentences for anyone who was still serving time.
So in your heart, you feel like you've been lumped in with the violent offenders.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, at first I thought you would be happy because you no longer have to be associated with this, but it's a goddamn misdemeanor charge. You don't have it. It probably doesn't show up anywhere in your life.
And it's also a scarlet letter. I mean, that photo is not going away. Whether I'm pardoned or not, I'm still that guy.
Yeah. Looking back on it, would you not have done it now, knowing what you know? I mean, nobody wants to go to jail, but it wasn't that long of a stint.
I like making lemonade. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people were throwing stones for a couple of years. I like building towers out of them.
Yeah.
I got a charity going. I actually build little lecterns. I sell them, and I get the money.
I have
too.
one. You see, I have it out there still in
they're
the
awesome.
green
That's-
room. Yeah.
You got to check one of the first ones.
Yeah.
But we've turned it around. I've got to meet a lot of very good people. Been able to build a voice, and I'm just hope to make some more good out of it.
I think you know, one of the things is people expect these guys that were involved to be mongoloids. They think you're just going to be every one of these guys and be like, we love Trump, and that's why we were there. And then you talk to you, and you're an educated guy who has an honest outlook on the whole situation. And I think that goes a long way. People realize that it wasn't just a bunch of maniacs who wanted to storm the Capitol, but some people were just interested in the process and how things go, and then may or may not have been caught up a little bit in the whole situation.
It is that.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I do think that a lot of people, myself included, were overserved by the Department of Justice. I think we can look back now and say, yeah, that was probably a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I don't know. These people who are now pardoned, they've lost their jobs. They've lost their families.
Yeah.
There's been, I think, 5 suicides now
Oof,
from our
wow.
community. 2 of them have died recently in the past 2 days, both shot. So, I mean, how do these people actually start over? I've had a couple of years to put my life together. Some people have been in prison rotting for 4 years.
Which blows my mind. Well, I mean, I don't know the level of the people that are in prison. There may be some people in there deservedly rotting that hit the police officers doing what they did. But the idea, you know, I've been reading this. I was reading this book about Rikers Island, the prison, and how so many of those people end up in that jail because of the way the system works, and will serve 4 years in jail and then be found not guilty.
Yes.
And because of the way the system is so bad and so delayed, that's what happened. And these people are losing years and years from their life because of the system.
Yes. I met a handful of those people in prison. I watched one guy get released after, I think it was a 14-year sentence for cocaine.
Wow.
And that man's life is ruined. Like,
Yeah.
someone taught his kids how to drive. Someone watched them grow up and get married. And how is that fair? How is that justice?
Was that the hardest part for you? I can do 75 days away from my wife like that, no problem. But the day that they put me in and I can't see, and you're a stay-at-home dad, you can't see your kids for, 2 months, that's got to be something.
It was not a pleasant time.
Yeah.
I read a bunch of books. It was during COVID, so the first 17 days were in isolation.
Right.
So getting a hold of people was darn near impossible.
Yeah.
I chose not to take visitation while I was there from the family, because there were guys who were serving very long stretches. During COVID, there was no visitation.
Yeah.
They had just recently brought it back, but it was 2 people a unit were allowed to see their family. So I forewent my visitation and gave it to someone else, because I get to leave in a couple of weeks, and you're not going to see your family for another year.
You're like when Jews work on Christmas. They're like, you guys at Christmas, we'll work the Christmas day. That's good. I like that. So you gave it up for the other people. So were you like the cool guy in prison? Like the other prisoners like, Adam's all right.
There was a modicum of infamy that definitely followed me there. People knew who I was.
Right.
Between the guards and the inmates that were there. Everyone was very polite. I got to watch whatever TV I wanted to watch in whatever room, even though they're very, very much self-sorting.
Yeah. You got TV. What other luxuries do they have in federal prison?
They did throw me a going-away party. They brought in a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue and a Publix cake.
Oh,
All right. Yeah.
not
In
too
the-
bad.
That's so funny. And so you were well liked when you were in there?
I was.
Yeah.
I actually helped build a library while I was there. COVID took away all their books.
That's Shawshank that you're talking
Yeah.
about. You're
No, I
talking
swear
about
to God.
Shawshank
Do you have a
prison.
friend named Red?
No, I swear to God. So they took away all the books during COVID. They said, all these books are dirty, they're unclean, so they shut the library down. I had so many people sending me books in, they told me no more books. So we got together other inmate numbers, and we had them send them to them instead. So by the time I left, we had some 200-300 books that were sitting there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. If you have a good system of people outside, you can survive that time. It's a short amount of time. You can get through it. Was there anything, I know this is an odd question, but was there anything you enjoyed about being in there? Like I'm talking about just being in prison, not about the whole process. I mean, like, did you enjoy like, hey, well, at least at lunch we had some camaraderie or something? Like, was there anything good about it?
The weekends, actually.
What'd you do on the weekends?
The weekends, everyone came together. Whether it was the Puerto Ricans, the blacks, the Mexicans, the whites, everyone made food. We all watched sports.
Right.
It was this time where everyone got together. We're all in the same place, all wearing the same clothes. Maybe some different shoes, the contraband, but everyone made food. Everyone came together. Everyone rooted for the sports teams.
Wow. So you all got to watch football together.
There was definitely a sense of community in there.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. Because we all think I have definitely made decisions in my life when I was younger to not do things because I didn't want to go to jail. That's the and now I think I would miss my kids terribly, and I would miss my iPhone almost as much as my children. I would go at them because I've become so addicted to using electronics that I would be miserable in there. But I think I could do 75 days. I think I'd get out. I think I'd appreciate life a lot more on the way out. Did you have that kind of feeling when you got out where you're like, I appreciate your freedom a lot better, or was it not long enough to really feel?
I had everything I love taken from me.
Yeah.
And there is when you feel that complete loss, it's very easy to come out and live in a spirit of thankfulness the rest of your life.
Sure. I get that. I have done things to jeopardize other things, and my wife will look at me and she'll go, "You're a dick." Did your wife ever? Did she give you that? Did it cause grief between the two of you, or is she just like, "You're a dummy"?
There was definitely initial conversation of what have you done to our family?
Yeah.
And when they were talking about a 20-year, 30-year sentence initially, my first conversation with her was, "Look, I don't expect you to wait around. You're young. That's your whole life. I did this thing to us. You didn't do it to us. If you need to move on, I completely understand."
Right. You gave her the out.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm a decent person.
Right, but you thought for sure that this could be a 20-year thing for you. Like you had to really. If my wife said to me, if I said I'm going away for 75 days, and she said, "Well, that's the end for me," I'll be back in 2 months.
Tap it out.
Yeah. So I mean, you thought you were going.
I did.
Yeah.
And she told me, "You're being stupid." We took a vow. I took an oath, and I'm going to honor that because I know you would.
Huh?
Oh, that's good.
I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about cutting your glorious locks so you wouldn't be as recognizable?
Longer now.
I'm actually growing it out for. I'm donating it. That's why it's so long.
Nice.
Oh,
My grandma got cancer when I was younger, and I always thought it'd be a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And if I can grow it, why not?
Yeah, good
Donate
for
it.
you.
How often do you get recognized?
It depends. I go to a lot of events now, so it's definitely a lot there. In my local community, if I go to the grocery store, I go to my local restaurant, it's always a conversation. "Hey, how you doing? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that?" And
Yeah, isn't it interesting how you were just some guy who went up to D.C. and now you're an authority on things because you were in the jail? I mean, that's the truth. Is that it shows you what it takes to become? I mean, you can literally run for office now because of your popularity, and you will get support.
it's odd though. I think my superpower is I can say I don't know, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I'd rather learn. So
I would. My audience would not. They would not let me live it down if I don't ask you this.
okay.
You were in jail for 75 days. How long before you did gay stuff?
Almost immediately, but I look, I didn't enjoy it. They just laid there.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. I got to tell you, I can't even think that, I mean, 75 days, that'd be the last thing I would think about. And no, I would just keep looking at that end date and going, that's all I care about.
They do a lot of things actually to suppress testosterone for inmates.
Really?
So it's a very carb heavy diet. So it's potatoes upon potatoes upon potatoes.
Yeah.
You actually can't do pull-ups in prison because it gets you too strong.
Really?
If they see you doing pull-ups at the shot, you get so many shots, you go to the shoe.
No kidding. From doing well, that's something I'll never get in trouble for.
Yep. You're allowed to run, which is again cardio, losing weight, losing muscle mass, but things like lifting weights, very, very frowned upon.
Really?
Yes.
Oh man, maybe jail won't be so bad.
That sounds horrible to me.
You don't have to work out.
No.
You get to hang out with the other guys and eat potatoes.
Nah.
That sounds great.
I'm Irish. I like to run.
Yeah.
Two things that work perfectly for
I
me.
love the cold weather.
I feel like I would make a mistake and forget that I not to use toilet number 5.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
next thing I know,
sure.
I'm the one that ruined the contraband getting in.
You see anybody get shanked or anything, or was it not violent at all?
There was one pillow party that did happen.
Pillow party, like a code red.
You stuff a pillowcase full of like bars of soap and
Right.
other things, and you beat the tar out of
Did
someone.
that guy deserve it, or did
Absolutely.
he did? What did he
did.
do?
So, in the place that I was at, they actually very much frowned upon any of the touchy stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you get caught doing that, you lose commissary, you lose yard time. No one wants to get caught up in that because it's corporal punishment.
Right.
There was an older gentleman who was caught relieving himself at 2 o'clock in the morning on top of a younger male.
Oh. Ooh.
And
Was sleeping?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And when that was found out, some guy walked by. They called for a party. Party happened. They took this guy's commissary. This guy basically starved for 2 weeks. They wouldn't let him shower. If he tried to use the bathroom or banging on the doors, they effectively punished him. So the COs didn't punish everyone.
And they looked out for the other guy. They kind of policed their own situation.
Oh no, they raped him.
Do people tip you off when you're going in, or do you start Googling how do I survive federal prison?
Yeah, like Martha
Like,
Stewart
how do you
did.
find these things out?
So I definitely did Google a bunch. I watched a bunch of prison podcasts, like what's day one look like.
Right.
But I was in isolation for the first 17 days. There was a guy that came down day one. His name was Sal. Sal's like the most New Jersey Italian guy that you can wrap your head around.
Yeah.
It is this guy. Had
Yeah.
a gold chain in prison. Don't know how he got it.
All right.
Hey,
So-
how you doing, long hair?
Yeah, so Sal
Yeah.
comes down. He gives me 2 trash bags full of like ramen, nice pair of Nikes, gym shorts, all the creature comforts you can actually get in prison. And he's like, "Oh, you're one of us now," which meant the whites.
White guy. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And he's like, we take care of our own. We were going to do this. We're going to do that. And I'm like, I don't think I want to take any gifts day one. Maybe just hold on to it. It's like, no, it's not like that here. They do that stuff up in low.
It was so. Did you take it?
I did take it,
And
I ate like a king.
And he didn't call you 3 days later and
Wow.
say, now you have to stab a Puerto Rican for this?
No. I will tell you, no one liked the Puerto Ricans in prison, though.
Really?
Oh.
Yes, it was the one group everyone equally just did not like.
Why? Were they just a little
They
too
got us
loud?
in trouble. They got us in trouble. They were flying drones up and down the hallways, delivering packages at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, you're going to get all of us punished. And it's like,
Flying
it's a short
drones?
walk. It's a short walk. Just walk down there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this is definitely, I have to tell you, you're part of history. Whether it was a long way to get there or not, the right way or the wrong way, you're a part of it. You're there. And I do find it admirable that you don't run away from it. You have been very good to us. We met, I think it was my birthday party when we met. I kind of recognized you, and I was like, go ask that guy who he is, And
I think last time we had you on was a week or so before you were going away.
That's
Is that
true.
what it was?
That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I just been sentenced. I had to report to prison in like 2 weeks, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's well. Look, I also feel like you did something. You did time. You probably did way more time than you deserved for the crime that you committed. But you're done now, and you've been officially pardoned.
This is true.
Yeah. Now, do you get something that says you're pardoned? Do you get a piece of paper or something?
That's a great question. I know I can print something off online, but I feel like I need like a nice card stock.
Yeah.
Maybe a real signature, a nice
Like a
little frame.
proclamation.
Yeah.
Something
Something
would
yeah,
be nice.
Yeah. Like
Something would be nice.
When they name a day after somebody, they have like a proclamation. On this day, we declare, I feel like this guy who was like the top 5 of you guys should get proclamations. The shaman guy, you, the guy who was hanging from the wall outside.
Yeah, a lot of people are upset about the pardons. They really, really are. I'm hearing this, and then
Look, I think they're upset because of the reason you're upset, because you've been lumped in with the group of people who are actually offenders. So in order to take care of everybody, the people who didn't get to serve justice, justice served on them, are getting away with it. And I'm sure that is what, but I mean, that also makes you mad. So
but with that line of logic, wouldn't it also mean they would have to admit that I was overcharged and oversentenced?
Yes.
If they're fine with my pardon now, I mean, I guess, is that a form of an apology?
you've done something now that if you walked into the Capitol building today through the Senate door and got caught in there and took a picture with a lectern while you were there, nothing would happen to you.
You mean like the pro-Palestinians who marched through the Capitol last year?
Right.
Or the LGBTQ community who marched through the Capitol?
Right. You would get nothing would happen to you.
A fine. Slap on the wrist.
If that. And but because because of them goddamn Getty Image people, man, they get that stuff out there and get it up quick. You became the face.
This is what happened.
It bothered me, though, that because there were obviously a lot of levels to how bad things got.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, there were people that did horrible, horrible things in there
Yes.
with beating cops. The one guy they just got out, he had thrown an explosive device down a hallway that it injured like 4 or 5 police officers. That's what bothered me about the pardons was they didn't want to take the time to see the different levels. It was just everybody is done and out. Because there's some pretty messed up, horrible people that got to just walk free.
That is my complaint. There's one guy who actually was hitting officers with a baseball bat while holding a riot shield. And if you look at what his sentencing guidelines would have been, he probably would still be in jail for that. Because that's assault with a deadly weapon on an officer.
On an officer.
So
just the blanket pardon was my biggest complaint. That I think they should have taken time to go through some of these and make certain levels. Because
do you think that the Trump pardons, the blanket pardon, was in response to the Biden pardons before he left office?
No. I think
you don't think that he? Well, I know he planned on pardoning the January 6th people. He said it.
He campaigned on that the whole time.
But do you think he went an extra? Say, you know what? Forget it. Just do them all.
I think that was always the plan.
And presidents have always pardoned some gross people. Jimmy Carter pardoned the Puerto Rican nationalist who shot Congress back in the 60s. Bill Clinton pardoned Susan. Bill Clinton pardoned who was it? Suzanne Rosa, who was part of Weather Underground, who supplied the bombs that bombed the U.S. Capitol back in the 80s.
Plenty of scumbags have been pardoned before.
Yes.
All presidents. No, I was not. Like I said, he campaigned on that. He said day one, that was one of the very first things he was going to do.
Right, but they asked him, will you do a blanket pardon or will you do? And he said, we don't know. We're going to.
They asked J.D. Vance that, and he said, obviously, people who have attacked law enforcement aren't going to get out. Right. And Trump just said, nope, everybody's free and clear.
I think it just came from it's been 4 years. We have more pressing issues. It's time to move on. And we do. We actually have real issues in our country that need to be solved.
Yeah, and then, there were guys like you who got caught up in it and got way too, got way too involved and got way too punished. And like your wife said, it could have ruined your whole life. Thankfully, it did not.
What was the worst thing you saw happening with your own eyes that entire day?
I would say the assaulting the officers.
Yeah.
I do. I don't support that. My community service, I spent 200 hours actually working with law enforcement. So, maybe that's me, like a testament, sorry about what happened, guys. I'm not that guy, but I don't support that. Never have, never will. These are people who only meet people on the worst days of their life. And that's a hard job. I don't want it.
Well, I have to tell you, you're a very interesting guy. The whole story is great. And I appreciate you being cool to us. I know a lot of people try to get a hold of you and try to get you on the air, and I don't know why you like us, but I'm glad you do because it's just an interesting story. I know that there's going to be people that are mad that we had you on for a second time, and it's not that I don't care, but if you don't get it, then you don't get it. I'm always going to talk to interesting people on this show, and this guy is in an event that was in history, and to be able to get a first-hand eyewitness account is great. It's priceless. Thank you for making the drive. I don't even know where Parrish is.
It's North Sarasota.
Yeah, I just see the signs all the time. Like it's one of those cities like Perry. You never get there. It's always just say eventually you'll get there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we got to take a break. Anything you need to do? Anything you need to plug or anything before anything you want to get out there?
If you feel so inclined, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Lectern Leader. We do a bunch of good over there. Lots of fun jokes. So come have a good time.
Yeah, I was. I couldn't remember what it was. I was trying to find you. I didn't have your phone number. I couldn't find it. And I'm like, I know we got Twitter or something. I'm looking up Podium Guy.
I remember I had his phone number for last time. I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, man. He's like, I'm in Vegas right now, dude.
Oh, yeah. What were you doing there? Just vacationing?
SHOT Show.
SHOT Show. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where our Shark Coast guys are this week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lots of fun.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Thank you, Adam Johnson. We'll take a quick break. It's the Mike Calta Show. This is 102.